What's going on, man? It's your big brother K-RINO. And once again, y'all are tuned in to another episode of K-RINO Radio, the digital version, the internet version, the visual version. And we got another great one for y'all tonight, man. I'm joined by one of the most legendary figures to ever come out of the city of Houston. This brother is, I always say this to him, because one mistake that we make, we try to relegate people to just where they're from. Is, oh man, he one of the best singers and one of the best rappers and dancers in Houston. No, this is one of the best singers, period. This brother can sing, and ever since I've known him, he's always had that talent. And he's what I call, he one of them on the spot cats. You know, he don't got to be prepped up, ain't got to be no tweaking in studio work to assist him. He goes straight in. My brother has done it all, man. He's appeared on some of the most classic records that ever come out the city, not to mention his own solo career that he's been carving and still carving out. My brother Billy Cook, what's going on, family?
What's going on, sir? How you feeling?
I'm blessed, man. Pleased to have you with us, man. We chopped it up a little bit over a year ago when we was live in the studio together, but I always like to keep people updated on what people got going on, bro. So let people know, what have you been working on? What have you been doing throughout the time we last talked, and the pandemic and all that? What has Billy Cook been up to since that time?
Well, since the pandemic, man, first off, I like to let me give a shout out back to you for just, getting me on your show and just to update everyone, and I appreciate you for that, for reaching out to me. What I've been doing since the pandemic is most first and foremost is staying safe, and making sure that I'm masked up and protected because, you know, lost family members and friends to unforeseen circumstances. But in the meantime, since that, just cultivating new relationships, new beginnings with new individuals. With this music, I've been recording, doing a few shows with my brother with a live band. My brother is Marcel Casanova, and then lately we did a video shoot, with Cliche, you know, uh, and we've been just having a lot of fun, staying consistent, me keeping my music fresh to for the old and new ears, and staying relevant, real right now and relevant, with my music, and also just have a lot of other businesses endeavors that I've actually jumped into, staying current with the cryptocurrency, just doing a little bit of everything, But the main thing is just keeping that income coming in, whether if I do a show or not. I'm letting my money work for me instead of me always having to work for the money. So that's what I've been doing.
And we definitely don't go get into all of that, because you were already in my head. Some of the questions I wanted to ask you. You talked about like just being safe and dealing with things through the pandemic and family members and friends. We've seen a lot. I know I can speak personally. I've lost friends. I've had family members be really down and friends really be down and messed up behind it, because it's not something that's normal, and a lot of people are dismissing it as being nothing. They dismissing it as being fake and all that, and they got that right, but
Right.
those who have actually kind of seen the real effects of this, we know that it's a little different. Tell us about some of the projects that you're working on right now. I heard you mention it like it's fleeting, but what's something you're working on right now that we need to know? Because we know you from Superstar, we know you from Platinum in the Ghetto and all that, but we want to delve more into the solo aspect of Billy Cook, because man, just to hear a whole album of you really displaying your vocal range, we hear it on a hook, but I don't know if people just really know how cold you really are, man. So what are you working on, and what can they expect?
Um, what they can expect from me is more shows with live bands versus just with tracks. Sometimes the music holds me back on tracks. And I have been working on making sure that I have a live element, a live feel with my new project, which is the Billy Cook So Iconic album that's still coming soon. We have, when I say we, me and my team, I have a team of people who are actually encouraging me and keeping me grounded with my music. And they can count them all on one hand. I don't have a whole lot of people involved in doing like how I used to be because they can get you in trouble. but I gotta always have management, and of course, my wife, she's always there by my side, and I have my brother, who don't waver, when it come down to my music and make sure that I stay current and relevant with my music, and I have a few writers who are on point, with that. So I have Marshall Casanova helping me, and working with me alongside with new material. I've, of course, like you said, when it come down to it, everybody knows me with the hooks, but I do write a lot. I write a lot of songs with a lot of people, and I was behind the scenes a lot back in the day, but I'm still doing that. But I'm also focusing more on who I am as my identity. And my identity is the Baptiste Music Group 1965 and the So Iconic brand and the voice, making sure that people associate the name with the voice and the face. And working with this new project has been a task because I'm always doing something different. My music, most people with music try to do an album that matches up with the next song, but that's not how I operate because I'm different. I've always been different. My music is different. I have different topics. The music complements each other, but it's different topics. If I give you something of the same every time a song comes on and the music sounds the same from the same producer, you're gonna be like, man, he didn't give us nothing different, and you're only gonna gravitate to one song that I put out. But you can only listen to one song at one time anyway, but it gives you a variety by knowing that you have that new material from Billy Cook So Iconic because what I'm giving you is straight soul anyway. And so I'll give you R&B, the soul, the rhythm and the blues. I give you the soul for this new project So Iconic. And I really love what I'm doing because I'm hitting certain topics. I'm also on top of my game as far as my sound and of course, of course, I don't sound like anybody else.
Right.
I have my own sound, but I love giving people something new and something fresh, and that's what it's really about. It's the new so iconic brand.
How involved are you in the production aspect of it? Because we know just historically with a lot of singers R&B, they may have a writer. You have the exception. You have the Stevie Wonders, the Princes, and all that, but they do everything. But they may have a writer, and of course they may have instrumentalists and the producers that craft everything around them. Then they pick the artist up and say, "This is where you are." I know you are more of a boss in terms of controlling everything. How involved are you in the production aspect?
I'm heavily involved with the production aspect of it. When I deal with producers, they'll give me a skeleton of a beat, or I'll give them my vocals, and we work together via Zoom because, of course, the safety is still there. I say add this instrumentation in there, this guitar player, this sound, or I need this to go in there, or they might give me a track and I'll edit it the whole entire thing to where it suits my sound. But I do all of the vocal production from beginning to end, from ad libs, intro in the song. I do all of the editing as if what an engineer does. So when people hear all my records or the features that I've done on somebody else's record, they hear me. There's nobody coaching me how to sing those choruses or those hooks or those verses on those songs. Of course, producers would love to. They would have a field day if I could just go in the studio and they can direct me or instruct me like an orchestra and sing all of the notes, all of the keys, sing it this way. But a lot of times those producers they can't sing. They have a musical ear when it comes down to or producing a track, but they don't produce vocals, and that's where I step in, and that's why I have a lot of the control when it comes down to my vocals. I have that creativity.
No doubt, no doubt. Are there any producers in particular that you lean towards where you say, man, I trust this dude, I love working with him, or how does that work? Do you just seek it out and find it as you go along? Or do you have somebody that you just like, hey, this is my guy. He knows we're linked up and he knows how to put my sound together.
That will be Marcel Casanova. That's my brother. When I send him music or vocals, when I don't have to ask, okay, did you do this to the mix? Did you add this on there? Because the template that he gave me on recording my vocals that's what I use. And I use it for every time I record somebody else's hooks or the verses that are the features that I do for that artist. Not unless it's just some collaboration and I have to be at the studio. But he's my go-to guy. Marcel Casanova, he's been mixing not just for me, but he's mixed songs for Mystical. He's mixed songs for so many artists in the game. I'm working with a lot of new artists right now. That gives me like my guy Clover G. I'm working with him on a project with him and Lil Flip. But my vocals, I have full control of that. I reference everything, and I always go to him, Marcel Casanova, as my go-to guy to make sure that my sound is correct, or make sure I'm hitting the right buttons. But most people when they get my music and it's not mixed, they think it's mixed already, but it's not. It's just that I had my own coach and mentor when it comes down to that.
Beautiful,
On
beautiful.
another note, another aspect is that I have producers like Mike B. Tracks. Now they don't. Now when I get done with they do the tracks. Now some of those producers, and they already know my style and element. But when they give me a session, they give me the full beat. They don't give me like no MP3. Of course they say, "Want me to send you an MP3 and want me to send you the whole track?" They'll send me the whole track. I'll edit or take away what I don't need so that my vocals can breathe, and I'll go and I'll orchestrate everything I need, and then I may send them the track depending on the producer because I know the ear. Mike B is one hellified producer, and an arranger, and he plays instrumentation, and he's actually featured on my album. I also have a guy out of France that's doing some production for me, and also Abdul Ali. He's
Yeah,
done some tracks for me that I perform live with my band.
right.
So go to guys, I don't have a whole lot. I just have a few and they're dominant in the area of where that's great for them and me and myself. So it's a great chemistry.
No doubt, man. Billy Cook is with us, man, here on K-RINO Radio. I was listening to what you were saying just now, and if nobody, if whoever's listening, if they never heard of you, don't know who you are, they would automatically know that you know what you're talking about because when you're saying about editing certain aspects of the instrumental to allow your vocals to breathe. See, that speaks to me as saying that you have a natural scientific method of putting your music together. The
Right.
understanding of even knowing to say, I need to let my vocals breathe because this doesn't need to be smothering this and this doesn't need to be jumbled and clouding that up, man. So, do you play any instruments? Are you an instrumentalist, or you just kind of hear it and direct guys? And I'm sure you engineer, but do you play instruments at all?
I play a little bit of keys,
Yeah,
and for years I had to when I couldn't find a producer to do the music for me, I wind up having to play the bass guitar or the lead guitar, and I'm not even a lead guitar or bass guitar player. It's just that I just got fed up with trying to find a musician to do the music for me. So I had to sit there. I might have to sit there for an hour or two, but when I get it down, it's exactly what I need, and it works because I don't have to play a whole full chord. I can just play. I can just pick and play what I want. And with keys, I kind of had a natural feel for that because most of my people in my family, they know how to play piano or bass or drums or they play a lot of instrumentation. So, but I've been around it all my life, but I'm not fluent in it, but fluent enough to do what to give my music that edge of what I need.
I tell people all the time it's not always necessarily about knowing how to play by the book, but more importantly is having the ear. When you hear it
Right.
in your head, then you'll be able to put it together. I want to ask you, I want to take you back in the time machine for a little bit because, again, like I said earlier, you have appeared on some of the most classic tracks to come out of H-Town, man. I just want to ask you about a couple of artists and what was it like working with them? What was it like working with Fat Pat, man? Just anything you could tell us about that?
Fat Pat had an an excitement about himself when it came down to music. I felt like that was his happy place. He felt like being able to be around him at just the short period of time that I was around him. He was excited, especially whenever he loved singing. I do know that because if he could sing on all his records, he would.
Yeah.
And some of the records he was doing that. But just like most people who freestyle, the energy that he gave was a freestyle energy. It was of him. So it was almost like you had somebody who loved what he do in the studio, and just me to be able to work with him, and just the fact that he took a liking and accepted me on the record. We didn't know how that record was gonna come out. I was in that record. I was on that record, and in a room with him, not that long. We just talked briefly, and and after that moment of being in the studio recording that song, we got to know each other and spend a little time just around certain groups. But other than that, the energy just it was always natural with him. It was always natural with me and him. With Mike D and Big Swift, Big Richard, Simpson, at the studio in Missouri City, and I know I'm saying and quite a few times, but I'm trying to go back and recall some of those moments, and it was a great experience being around him. I never got a chance to ever see him perform ever. Was only in the studio for that one song. Wow. That was it. But everywhere else, I had more time around them than I did with Pat.
Yeah, that's deep, man, because you said a second ago, you said we didn't know what that song was going to do. And that was my next question. What to ask, was there a time when you heard the song after it was done and say, okay, this gonna be nice? Or did that just hit you later on when you saw it doing what it was doing? Did you have that moment like, wait a minute, this thing is popping now?
It was weird. It was weird how they came together. I did that song. I recorded that song with Pat in 93, 94. Actually 94. The album released in 1996, and it blew up. I was on Rap a Lot between 94 and 98, and they told me not to do the song because they didn't think he was gonna, do what he did. The group that he was in, or just the clique, the Screwed Up Clique, and that's when I got heavily involved with the Screwed Up Clique, was around that time. And so that record, I just so happened to be working a job at the time, working on the refineries, and I was always singing all day long. I was like, man, I got to get off of this job. My heart was in music, but I still had a family. So during that music time, that era, I wind up coming home. On my way home, and I was going to the barber shop. I needed to get my hair cut because I think at that time I had to. Well, I think I just really need a haircut. And that's just what happened to be walking out of the barber shop, and this guy pulled up in a red Cadillac. It was candy red Cadillac on Swingers, and that was way back in the day. Top down was white insides, and it was playing Superstar. And I kept hearing this song. I said, that sound familiar. And the guy told me, he said, "That's Fat Pat. The album just came out. It was just released." And I was like, man, I said, that's me singing on that song. Wow. And prior to that song, I've been on a song that went gold, and that was Big Mike from the Ghetto Boys. So I was still fresh and new in the game at the time. And the guy, I said, how this album, who released this record? I need to try to get in touch with them. I've been trying to get in touch with Pat, and Mike D. And he said, yeah, this is on Rec Shop Records. Mm-hmm. So he gave me the CD, and he said, it's a number on the back. I went back in the barber shop, and I called that number on the back, and that's when I spoke to Double D. Double D said, yeah, man, we've been trying to find you. Of course, he was talking real slow at the time. He said, man, we've been trying to find you, because they didn't know who was singing on that record. Right. And after then, from hearing that one time in that guy's car, the next following week, I kept hearing that song all on the radio. Everywhere I was going, I was hearing that. I was hearing that in Ghetto Dreams, Tops Drop, and ever since then it was history. I found out where Rick shot, the address on there. My wife and I, we went around to the studio. And at the time, when you're working a job at the time, you're looking for a way out. You're looking for a way. I feel like, man, Rick shot probably would have been the route for me, but it didn't turn out that way. I started doing more music and started finding out who I was due to my management, and it just grew from there.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful story. Yeah, Billy Cook, man. And I think also sometimes just being on a song that big, even if it may not just benefit you immediately, in the long run, it still does, because it obviously led to you being a part of other great works as well. Talk about Keke, man. Talk about the Platinum in the Ghetto and all that, man. Talk about how that whole thing came together.
Well, Lil Keke, we were classmates,
Hmm.
but how he found how we just happened to be at a studio, and he wanted me to sing on a song. He talked to Cynthia Cook, my wife. A lot of people don't know that the glue and the cohesiveness to my career was her, keeping me in the right areas. All the studios, from Uptown Studios, the Red Light District Studios, the Rap A Lot Studio. She kept me. She said, out of sight, out of mind. She was reading a book back in the day, Think and Grow Rich. Her ex husband was a globetrotter. Reggie Airman Dixon, and these two always, were on a different level when it came down to business and traveling. But they got into the music industry, and it kind of cultivated a different era for me to be at these places, to be seen with a gift that I had with singing. And they and it's like, if I the more people heard me, the more records I can get on, for my career to get me jump started. So I was doing a lot of work for a lot of people, but when it came down to Lil Keke, I had before platinum. It was way before platinum in the ghetto. To be honest with you, it was on the Birds Fly South. I was on 3 songs, but I think that there was a misprint. People think that it's Big T on that record, but it was me on Birds Fly South. Um, a few records were like that because I didn't care about the name. I just wanted to be heard. So a lot of records went from Lil Keke, from Birds Fly South, to a few other records that I was on with him, to Platinum in the Ghetto. That's how I got started. Being at Sinclair, Cynthia took me to their studio. Sinclair, they wanted to chop it up about me being on the song. It was gonna be a big record. Keke did a deal with Cox after the song blew up, or before, I don't know. I didn't handle none of the business. All I wanted to do was sing.
Yeah.
So she took care of all of that, got me into a lot of areas. My voice started making room. But she said, if you give time will give you the answer. You just gotta keep grinding, keep working hard, work harder than everybody else. And the fruits of your labor, everything will pay off. And
No
that's what
doubt.
happened with Keke. That song blew up. Didn't even know it was gonna do what it did.
Wow, that's beautiful, man. And shout out to Cynthia, man, because I know she's been your ride or die for the longest,
Absolutely.
man, and has been so instrumental in your whole entire career. That got to be a great thing to have.
It's a blessing.
Yeah, that's a beautiful blessing, man. Let me ask you this: Houston is now known predominantly, as a hip hop city now, because all of the rappers that have had success. But we've had a few R&B groups and individuals to come out and be real successful, but not enough, in my opinion, to where it should be, where Houston should be recognized as that kind of city. Why isn't Houston as prominent in R&B as it is in rap? What do you think is the reason why that's hasn't developed like that?
I think that the reason that the R&B hasn't done that is because when you have the radio and the streets is predominantly rappers, you know, they put out more records. It's easier to put out a rap record, and fast. You put out mixtapes. R&B artists, it takes time. People want they want it right now. So
Yeah,
they don't have time to wait on R&B.
right,
They don't.
right.
And the R&B artists are very gifted, very talented. A lot of us out here, And so what we have to do is form a union, a togetherness, be collective in our actual doings, and uh, and and start promoting ourselves and in groups. with bands and not have no animosity, because most of the people, let's say the birds of a feather flock together. And there's a lot of artists that don't have enough management, or they want to do it themselves. And that doesn't work. You can't just get out there and think you're just going to do it by yourself. Then once you get out there and see how hard it is, then you want to go back and try to backtrack and get management.
Right.
But I started out with management day one for the last 27 years. Been having management my whole career. I've never been without a manager.
Right.
I've had management and they've all fallen off. But the one that's been there was a true manager who it wasn't always about the money. It was about helping me get to where I needed to be. But then again, it became about the money, because the money allowed me to get to where I need to be. And that's what a lot of artists need. They need direction.
Absolutely, man.
And my management taught me and told me, said, look, we don't have a money problem. We have a problem understanding how money works.
Right.
And so you have to learn how to invest it in the right areas. And it's about time and patience. And a lot of artists don't have patience.
Right.
The R&B artists didn't have patience.
Right.
A lot of rappers, they have patience. They'll
That's
grind this thing till the wheels fall off.
That's beautiful. No doubt. True facts, man. True facts. And it's interesting you said it needs to be some kind of unified union between, because you're right, there are a lot of talented R&B singers, male and female, and I know a lot of them, but it's just something that doesn't allow for them to bust through. And that always it's always picked at me, because I'm like, man, it's just too many talented people for only a handful of R&B artists to just make it through. I got another question pertaining to R&B, because we old school, we from
Right.
old school, man. And we remember, I just watched the Isley Brothers and Earth, Wind & Fire versus battle. I'm sure you caught that. I don't know if you did, if you didn't, but I caught that. You didn't catch it? But
I will go back. Now that you brought it up, I'm gonna go check it out.
And my question doesn't necessarily pertain to the battle, but it pertains to the two groups that were involved in it, Isley Brothers and Earth, Wind & Fire. And what stood out to me, that has always stood out, is the writing, man, the lyrics of these songs, man, and not just those two groups, but all of the old school R&B. Just the words are like poetry, and they take their time and craft the words in a way that make them timeless songs. But the more modernized R&B is so direct and is just shallow and raunchy, and just it's no mystery involved in it. And I know you from that old school. What's your view on that today's R&B compared to the school we came from, and what made it take that turn to where the depth is just not in the lyrics no more?
I think that back in the day, it was the music, it was the writers, and it was the deliverer, the messenger. Now it's like they just want to get to the message. They don't want to lead up to anything. They don't want to cultivate a relationship. They just want to get down to whatever it is, And so people, they're getting the microwave success versus the gumbo, the cooking on the stovetop. Everybody know a home cooked meal gonna always last longer in your belly versus that quick right now. Put that sandwich in the microwave and warm it up.
Right.
Because it's gonna be what it is.
Man.
And so that's what a lot of the artists of they have some type of substance, but because the record labels want them to have something like this artist and that artist, and so the artists thinking that that's what they got to do, so they compete with each other, and everybody's competing against each other instead of working with each other. Like those old school groups, they work together. It was large bands, it was large production.
Right. And it's crazy too. They packaged and marketed and sold the music instead of an image. And I think today is more that they're more pushing an image more so than the music itself, man. So man, Billy Cook up here teaching and giving and imparting us with his wisdom as always, man. I learned when I talk to you, because you're in a genre that I'm not in. I'm in the hip hop, I'm the rap genre, and we cross paths, of course, but there are aspects of the game that you have experienced that I haven't went through. So it's a blessing to be able to hear it from that perspective. You talked about the other ventures that you were in outside of music, and I know you've always been not one to just, I don't want to use the term put your eggs in one basket, but you've always explored other revenue streams. I remember you was doing the coffee and all that. But so now
Right.
you're into the cryptocurrency. Tell us a little bit about that and how you got involved in it.
The crypto space, I got into that because of my music, because I wanted to, I wanted to diversify the money that I make. My wife and I, we've been talking about, like what Jay Prince was talking about. There's so much land out there. Get you some land. That God didn't make no shortage of land. So when you think about land, you got to think about not just, these pioneers like Jay Prince or what Rick Ross is doing. These guys are buying land. They're not buying cars or necklaces. They can, of course, they can afford that, but that's for show. But when you buy land, that's longevity. When you have a house that has equity in it, you're thinking about later on in life. A lot of these people, when they fall on hard times, they go sell a necklace, and they only get a little bit. It's not worth what they paid for it in the beginning. And Floyd Mayweather talked about that. So you got, people that think in business, they think about long term success versus short term success. And so cryptocurrency is providing me a way of life, that residual income that comes monthly versus in the music industry, residual income that comes every 2 months or quarterly, sometimes 6 months, depending on the record. And then sometimes the records take off slow. But my crypto, me dealing with the cryptocurrency and foreign exchange, that's right now money.
Right.
That's tomorrow money. Right. That's the day after tomorrow money, and a day after that. So now instead of me being an artist that's looking at record labels trying to sign me, and so I'm the deal. Now I put the money behind myself. My wife told me, she said, Billy, why look, don't focus on the music so hard. She said, focus on getting this money out the way. It's right now money. And then you can go back and you can fund your career the way you're supposed to fund it. So you can't listen to it and do what you see. You got to do do what you feel. And if I feel that the next wave, that where the industry is going right now, everybody is going to be now selling not music just online. The only way they're going to be able to purchase music, that's why I'm staying ahead of the curve. You got to use cryptocurrency. You got to use Bitcoin. You got to use Ethereum. You got to use all these different platforms dealing with finances, and you got to have your game together, your mind. And see, people is always talking, man, everybody doing that. Say it's saturated. No, your way of thinking is saturated.
Oh.
And so that's why, we have to change the way we think in order to change the way we earn money. And right now, people are moving in the direction of technology. That's why when people were selling CDs out the trunk, it's okay to sell CDs out the trunk, but don't make that a habit of doing it every single day. That's all you have to count on, because then you lose your family. You lose your time. You can't afford to get it back, because the CDs that you sell just go into that rim, just going to the studio time. Well, now, and that's because they're working for the money. This is why I let my money work for me now.
Man, beautiful.
So a friend said, I put overalls on my money, I send it out, and then it comes back with friends.
Come on now.
That's how you got to live your life.
Nah, man, I love it. What stood out to me is how you mentioned earning your money and building up your money through your own methods gave you, or is giving you, the freedom to be able to be bolder in this industry. Because a lot of artists, what the mistake they make is, I won't say a mistake, but the situation they get caught up in is when you come to the negotiating table with nothing to bargain with, and you end up taking a hit from these snakes and clowns and these major labels,
right,
because you so worried that you're not going to get the deal that you accept anything. But when you come in from a position of strength, and like you say, you financing your own, you basically going to the meeting just to hear what they talking about, to see if
that's
it's
right.
something that I may, okay, I'm gonna see what you're talking about. And if it's worth my while and it's under my terms, yeah, I'll mess with you. But if not, I don't feel the pressure of saying, well, all right, I'll catch y'all later. I'm not interested, you know, and that's where a lot
Right.
of artists get messed up in the game. So that was some great wisdom. But you got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and you are so right about that. Okay, you know, a lot of people want to tell you what you need to hear, or what you want to hear. I mean, I'm normally I always ask people, do you tell me do you want me to tell you what you need to hear, what you want to hear?
Right.
If you're very smart, you'll say, tell me what I need to hear,
Yeah.
and not what I want. Because what you want me to pacify, or give you, just be a yes man.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not that type of person.
Right.
I've been second, I've been third, I've been last for years, and now for the first time in my career, and what I need and want, I'm first.
Mm.
My family is first. First, God is first, then my family, then there's wealth.
Right. Right.
And if you ain't operating in any one of those spaces, then I don't even want to talk to you.
Got it.
So I don't care if people laugh at me about me doing anything that I do outside of the music. They can say, "Bro, Billy ain't doing music no more. He like some people used to say this, man. He doing that coffee,
Yeah.
and they ain't talked to me in years. They don't know what I'm doing,
That's right.
but they just go off of what he say, she say.
Right.
But I can say this right here is that there's a need out there, and I'm here to provide a need. I'm
Yeah.
here to provide a service. Service to many leads to greatness. And I want artists to be able to have a way to fund their own careers, not be, not have a sabotaged career, not just taking anything,
Right.
you know, because it's really important that you understand who you are in your work. And when I was on tour, or I went on tour, I was with my cousin. He played. His name was Derek Blaylock, and I was in Florida at the combine with all of the football players. All NFL players, the Bengals, just the Dallas Cowboys. I was with all these guys, and Snoop happened to be there, and we was talking on some music. I forgot all about the conversation. He was telling me how one of my songs he liked my song That Bubble, and he was like, well, anyway. But I'm saying this to say this: a guy that was with us, one of his agent, my cousin Derek Blaylock, his agent told me, you got to know what your worth is. He
Right.
said, what it is, you don't know your worth. That's why most people are going around saying, I need an investor, or the proper thing is if you have multiple investors, if you just so happen to have one, don't let one investor be the only source to back you. Multiple investors, that's less, it takes less money from each one of them. And when they all put it together, now you become a powerhouse because if you ever need to go back to all five of them, now you can really cultivate something big on the next level.
Wow.
But what I'm doing is I want to be all five of those investors.
Come on.
I don't want five investors. I want to be the five, within myself. And I want to be able to diversify all the way around. I don't want to count on anybody else.
Right.
Only the power that be upstairs. That's it. And my circle. And that's a very small one because I don't trust labels because everybody said this and through the grapevine. If I can get him by himself,
Right.
away from his wife,
Right.
away from his management. And so I am so good and so far ahead of the game, light years ahead of the game, that I want the world to know there is no separation.
Come on now. Come on now. Anybody
Because
who
that's
would
why,
try to do that in the first place, that should instantly be a red flag to them. Just the game you just gave, I'm gonna spit it to the rest of any artist that might be listening. If there's somebody that's on your team that you know is solid, anytime if an entity that you're trying to work with on a business level tries to meet with you and they see that solid person with you and they try to pull you to the side, that's when you know you ain't got no business fooling with them right there. So that was
absolutely.
beautiful wisdom, man. Beautiful wisdom. So do you have a aspiration to work with other young R&B artists? Have you already done that? Is that something you see yourself like, man, I hear this little young cat, man, or this young sister, and you feel like bringing them under your umbrella, or are you just more focused as an artist?
I'm more focused as an artist more now
Mm.
because I'm branding who I know I am to be right now. Like who I was all those other years, I was just getting started. I was just getting started. What I've done in the past don't even scratch the surface of what I'm getting ready to do. And a lot of new artists along the way while I'm building who I am. along with the help and the knowledge and wisdom of the current team that I have.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's small,
Right. Right.
but along the way, if someone is where I think or I can help them, I'll help them. But it's like this: I can only help someone else as long as I got to help first myself. I got to first help myself.
Got to be in position. Right.
That's right, because I can't help if I'm in a rut and you're in a rut. Two people try. I can't help you get out of it because I'm in it too.
Yeah. No question. No
I
question.
can't. A broke person can't help another person. They can only and then when it comes down to the advice, broke people trying to tell somebody what they wouldn't do and stuff like that. That's giving broke advice. So I got to make sure that who I'm looking for, I'm looking for somebody to pull me up. I'm looking up. I don't want to look back, but I don't want to give out handouts, but I want to give I want to pull people up.
Right. 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 Beautiful. Beautiful.
So along the way, once I'm getting while I'm fully established, then I can give back.
No question, no question. Billy Cook, man, and as y'all see, his experience and his wisdom is shining through right now. This is more than just an artist. This is more than just somebody who y'all heard singing here and that, man. This brother has a wealth of wisdom, life wisdom, and industry wisdom that absolutely, just based on what I'm hearing, could free us if we listen to that. See, a lot of the things that you're saying right now are really things that are representative of a classroom for younger artists if they would just take that in. And not just young artists, even people just in the game that may have lost their way, don't really know where they're going. So we appreciate you for that, brother. You got any social media, anything you want to shout out and let people know about?
Just there's so much social media out there. I got some pages, man, and I just tell everybody if you look up the real Billy Cook on Instagram, you'll find me. I have my social media information on there, or go to my Facebook, and my information is there too as well. Just pull up Billy Cook Houston or the real Billy Cook,
Yeah,
or Billy Cook H Town on Twitter.
Yeah. Okay.
And hit me up. You know, uh, I don't mind. I shoot people advice all the time.
Yeah.
I don't give them no financial advice because I'm not a financial expert.
Right.
I just know what I'm good at doing on my own with my own money.
You still doing features and still working with people if they want to reach out and
yes,
break some bread.
doing
Hey,
a lot of features.
come with your bread. Don't be playing. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people they do come with that, but there's a lot of people, they have to most definitely get with my management,
Yeah.
And really talk some numbers. You can't come in this game thinking that I want the low fee, and then you want to go put all the money, into your production, into your producers. The thing about it is get your feature first.
Come on.
Don't always go get your production first, because by the time you go get your production, you pay all this money for the production, and then you can't. Then the features was like, hold up, you start changing me,
Come on.
but your producer trying to sell you a bunch of tracks.
Ooh.
But imagine, see, I could put out an acapella album and it's gonna sell. I can't put out an instrumental album and think it's gonna sell. It's just gonna be a part of jazz.
Man, come on now.
So the thing about it is it's a twofold thing. It's a collaboration.
Yeah.
Go get your features, pay them. Quit being cheap.
Right.
That's what I want to say. Quit being cheap.
That's really because
and
they gonna hear you. They gonna hear you, and a lot of times, bro, those hooks that you put down are the driving force of the song. So why would you try to short him?
Work with the artist. That's why I do a lot of work on these records. I do a lot of work on these records, and my managers have to get on me sometimes and say, you're doing too much for what they paying you.
Yeah.
And plus, I'm pushing the buttons. Yeah. I'm doing engineering. Right. So I have to respect that. If I can give, if they can give me instructions and I can listen and take that constructive criticism, I think other artists can do the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Somebody that been in the game that long, still humble enough to accept correction, criticism, and to accept the fact when somebody's giving them guidance and not feel arrogant in the way you can't tell me nothing. That's always how you've been anyway, bro. So I ain't surprised about none of that, man. And anytime you need your brother, you know I ain't but a holler away. You just holler out your car window. I'm gonna pull up on side of it.
Already. And I love what our collaboration and what we've done over the years, what we've been able to bless other people with,
Absolutely.
and I know with you and I and the chemistry that we've given people, I can say this. I'm not gonna say we all that in a bag of chips, but I will say this is that we're not the best, but we're better than some and we're better than most.
Come on. Come on.
And we're not new to this, we're just true to this.
Absolutely.
Artists get you some management, somebody to speak for you, because everybody don't want to talk to you as an artist because they're gonna off the top gonna think you arrogant.
Right. Right. No
An
doubt.
artist, be humble before you speak. When a lot of people listen more. You ain't got to be the one to do all the talking like you all of that,
That's right.
because you can get off in your feelings and get hurt real quick when people tell you about yourself.
That's right. That's right.
So just take constructive criticism and going on. You ain't got to even respond.
Yeah.
Just keep moving, moving and grooving, and stay in your space and make your space better, so you can be better than yesterday. And that's all I got.
Grown man knowledge from the one and only Billy Cook. Thank you so much for joining your brother, man. It's nothing but love, man. I wish you success 10,000 fold, bro. Shout out to Cynthia. Tell her I say I appreciate all things that she's done for you and the connection y'all got. And much love, my brother.